Anyway, let's get started then. I hope you're not. That shows you how boring you're on the plane. How bored you are on a plane. So, anyway, let me get started. So a bit of an introduction about what we're gonna be. Uh, oh, actually, I haven't shared my screen. Let me do that right now. Um, a window, I think, and this one, I think. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at a few things. Now the first thing we're gonna look at is this thing called regex. So why do you need regex? Because a lot of times when you do web scraping, a big part of web scraping is to target exactly what you want and extract that information out. So this is gonna be the website that we're gonna be looking at. So this is Fat Secret Indonesia. So if you look at Fat Secret, they have a ton of recipes, right? And oh, where did I go? Recipe. Yeah. So you guys are looking at my screen now. You can see my screen.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, right. So there are a ton of like menus. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna write a for loop and we're gonna go through each one of these items. And then from each of these items, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the information, nutrition information. So what we want to do is to extract out the values on the right, and we want this to be the key. And ideally, we want this to be a nice CSV in our for loop. So we write a nice for loop, and through the for loop, we're gonna go through a set of all the different recipes. So this is one recipe. We're gonna go through 8 recipes or 9 recipes, and for each one of them we're going to look at exactly what we want, which is this section of that. So all of this stuff is irrelevant. We don't need this stuff, we don't need this stuff, we don't need the review, we don't need the angota, we don't need any of this. We just want this section. All right, and how do we take that information, gather all of them and put them in a nice CSV? Ideally we also want a CSV to be named. So how do we name the CSV? We're going to name it by the title. So we're going to do two types of targeting right here. So the first one is to target this exact keyword. I'm going to show you how to do that using the, I don't know, how do you guys want to learn, the easy way or the hard way? Because there's a lot of ways to do this. What is your preference here?
Easy way.
Well, the good news is both ways are easy. So we're gonna learn the regex way and the non-regex way. Okay, so we're gonna try and target the keyword. So the CSV is gonna be called udang to Miss Broccoli, and in it will be a CSV containing lemak, energy, protein, carbohydrate, sodium, and calcium, and it would also have all those values in there. So this is kind of the main goal. So ideally, I mean, if the best way to learn is after you've done this exercise, you find some time to practice it on your own, find some other website, don't find exactly this the reason I choose Fat Secret was because that was the one that Aurelia is working on, right? You're working on is this kind of similar to what you're trying to do anyway, like
Yep,
extracting the values to CSV?
yeah.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So because she came up with the idea, so we're gonna use her idea and we're gonna do this. But for you, you may try and use some other websites. If you're in marketing, you want to find some marketing data and stuff, and you try and perform your web scraping. So that's kind of how we're gonna do it. Now talk about a bit of prerequisite. We won't be using Selenium. We're using a lot more lightweight than that. We use very lightweight stuff. We're gonna use regex. In Python, that would be something like import re. This is built-in. You don't have to install anything. It's a built-in module to Python. So when you install Python, you already have import re. Re stands for regex, regular expression. So re, regular, e, expression, regular expression. So let me type that out for any one of you who want to like go and learn about it later. We're also going to be using this thing called the BeautifulSoup. BeautifulSoup. This is a third-party library, but we're going to be using it. It's very popular, and we're also going to be using request. So request. If you don't want to use request, you can actually get around that as well. For a long time I haven't been using request, but I thought that if you want to make the whole learning experience a bit easier, then might as well. So the only two things you need to install is BeautifulSoup and request. And if you don't have that, then the best way to do it is to just do pip install request. Make sure you're in a virtual environment, or you can do pip install BeautifulSoup 4. So that's really all you need. And then ideally you want a text editor that you're familiar with. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. But you're free to use anything you want. So that's kind of all you need. So if you have Python, you have Visual Studio Code, and you can do a pip install request and BeautifulSoup, then you're all set to go. You have everything you need to follow along the rest of the next 1 hour. Maybe up to this point, like is the case study clear? Like, are we clear what we were trying to do? Because so later on we're gonna go into like recipe, and we're gonna find the other different recipe, and we're gonna try that out. But here I'm just gonna click on one first. Let's just do that. So like, is this so far? Any questions so far on what are we trying to solve? And then the CSV module, I guess you can also do import CSV. This is also built into Python, so you don't have to install anything. You don't have to do a pip install CSV because CSV is built into Python. So when you install Python, you already have CSV, but there is also a way to get around not even using that module. So we don't even need a CSV module. So I'll show you different ways as we go along. But so far, anyone have questions that we can? Anyone have questions so far, or are things clear? If things are clear, then I'm gonna start to oh, we don't even need to do the clicking. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do two ways of looking at it. The first one is to just look at the, so if I look at my inspect and I look at my web browser, so for example, if I want to get this value, how do I get this value? Now I can target by many things. I can target, for example, looking at nutrition facts. I know it's a bit small now on my screen. You can follow along the same step by going to your browser, going to this URL. I'm gonna paste the link here, like that. And what you can do is to just right click and say inspect, and once you inspect, you just have to bring this element, this selector, and bring the selector all the way. Look at the selector is moving around, right? Just bring the selector all the way to what you want to target. You see a couple of things here. It says this is, it gave you the purple color fonts that says div.nutrient.black.right and stuff. So this is what we want to target. So you don't even need the clicker. You don't need a pointer, a mouse cursor, move on mouse hover, on mouse click, nothing. It's just completely going to be very organic, just CSS classes. Find that thing, extract that out, move on. So that's the method number one. Method number two is later on we'll discover that this site actually have JavaScript. We're going to use the JavaScript method. Pretty neat as well, and I thought might as well show you something new as well, since you know, because the rest of the, if I only show you how to do this, a lot of the, I mean, you go to YouTube and you read up, you if you can, you know, find a video about BeautifulSoup, you probably end up learning the same thing anyway. So a lot of people know how to do this. What less people know how to do is to use the script tag. So I'm going to show you how to use the script tag. That's even more, in my opinion, if you have the script tag, it's more elegant, more clean, more robust. But I'll show you both ways. I'll show you both. We do both ways, and you can compare and see which one you like best. We are going to scrap multiple recipes though. So what we're going to do is we're going to, like for example, we can go to the makanan page, or we can go to the recipe page, and or that could also be a nice exercise for you. And within the recipe page itself, each of these has a link, right? So basically you can do a for loop and then nest a for loop again. So the outer for loop would, what would the outer for loop do? The outer for loop is going to go through this page, go into this page, and basically loop through all of this. And then the inner for loop is going to go into that and then try to perform your, extract your stuff. So you don't even need a Selenium or anything like that. You don't have to click on things, because from here, if you look at the inspect element itself, you have the href. You actually have the link. So all you need to do is to instruct your Python program to follow that link. So you don't actually need a clicker. Yeah. So that is a lot more lightweight. You can run it on anywhere. You can run it on a, you know, on a Linux server without having to worry about installing like something like a web driver, which is a web driver is something like Chrome driver or something, which is like a browser driver that allows you to simulate a browser session. So you don't even need that. This is very lightweight, gets the job done. Yeah, exactly. Take all the href from your outer loop. You should prepare a list and then append to that list all the href, and then you just go through each one of them. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. If there are no questions, we can get started. So let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, this is my screen. And okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is to open up, create a directory somewhere on, I don't know where you want to have it, that desktop, your Dropbox, anywhere. So I'm gonna just go to my desktop right now. So change directory to desktop. You can have it anywhere you want, but just try to create something so you can follow along. We're gonna create a directory. So make directory. We're gonna call it scraping exercise, scraping exe, I guess. Right? You can name it anything you want as well. So I have a directory called scraping exe. What we're gonna do is to create a simple file. We're gonna call it scrape01. Actually, let's just go scrape1. Actually, just scrape01.py. So we're gonna just create a file. So what did I just do? Step number one, I move into my desktop. Step number two, I use mkdir to make a directory. Step number three, I just create a file, and then you can actually start writing code in here. All right. So again, just to make sure that you're a bit more chill and santai, all of this stuff I'm gonna push it to GitHub, so you won't have to follow along throughout the whole session. If there are some parts that you don't fully understand yet, it's okay to move on a bit, because I'm gonna share with you all of this stuff later on GitHub. Right, so now let's go ahead and open up your code editor. I don't know what you want to use. You want to use code, Visual Studio Code, you want to use Atom, whatever it is that that your heart desire. So I'm gonna open up that and making sure that I'm in the right directory. So I'm going to say open, pointing to my desktop, going to my scrape.exe, open that, and now I'm in my Visual Studio Code. So all of you, if you're trying to follow along this session, you should get up to this point. Oh, I know what's my problem here. I need to move my scrape01.py into my scraping.exe. And then okay, now it's done. All right, so I when I created my script.01.py, I intend for it to be in the directory. I made a mistake here by creating that on my desktop, so I'm actually using mv to say move that into scripting.exe. So if I show you my actually, let's change directory now to scripting.exe. If I show you my 3 folder now, it's very simple. It's just one file within scripting.exe. If I list my folders, if I list all my files and folders, it's just one simple file in there. So you can also do it any way you want. You can use the mouse and right click and click and just say create new folder, create new file. It's up to you. So up to this point, you have a blank file that is called script01.py, but it's completely blank. And you can also open up a terminal here to sort of make it easier for you to work with. I'm gonna switch my directory to DBS. That's my 3.9.1, and this I'm also gonna change it to DBS. So 3.9.1. Okay, clear that out. So I'll give you a bit of time if you're trying to get to this point. Maybe you can leave a comment to let me know if it's good to go, good to continue, or if there's questions here at this point. Or if I'm actually moving too fast, let me know as well, because we have 1 hour. We're not supposed to have to rush on anything. But if you feel like my pace was too fast, you can also let me know. But you know, I'll just keep going if no one have questions. Up to this point, you're fine. You're following along, right? You're following along, right? Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and actually do some stuff, right? Now I want to just go ahead and maybe just try and see that everything is set up properly. You can go ahead and say import. You can actually import a web browser. Like web browser is kind of nice because it's built into Python as well. You don't have to do anything in there. It's just basically just web browser. And I can do something like web browser.open. And when you say web browser.open, you need to pass in a link. So I'm going to go to my URL. I'm going to just click on soap tahu wartel and just copy that URL up here and just paste it right in here like that. Just do it like that. If this is too long, you can say URL equals to this one, put it in here, and you can say web.open and just open the URL just like that. It's up to you. If you want to make sure everything still works, just go down to your terminal and just do a Python, and you say scrape01.py, run it. Okay, perfect. It does what it needs to do, which is to open the new browser tab. So I'm gonna close this one. Yeah, so you can just try and maybe this is simple checking to make sure that you know you set up your stuff, everything is ready to go. So at this point, if you don't have the stuff installed, you want to get those things going. Web browser is already built in. It's a module that is built when you download Python. You already have that. So here I'm just checking that my internet is good, my Python is set up, everything is good. You can go ahead and actually do a pip install right now if you haven't done that. So all you need to do is to say pip install BeautifulSoup for. So if you already done that, then you don't have to. So BeautifulSoup 4, and you need to do pip install request. That's all. These are the only 2 dependencies you need. So go ahead, copy that and paste that into your terminal. Make sure that when you do a pip list, you can see them, and if you do, then you're good to go. So I'll give you a bit of time here. if you're done, you can just tell me you're done, and then we don't have to continue to wait. But the main idea is to right now do the setup to make sure that you installed exactly what you need. Okay, Aurelia is done. Let's see if the rest are done. Okay, Jero is done. Owen is done. What about Mulia and Adi? Mulia, are you gonna try and follow along? Or are you just sitting in here to sort of like? Yeah. No, don't worry, bro. Like, I mean, you don't have to do this like right now on the plane, you know. So I mean, you just have to. I mean, conceptually, if you understand things, you can. If you want to follow along, I'll post the video somewhere. I'm gonna record it and post it somewhere. Yeah. All right. So this is really simple. What just a one-liner. You can. It's actually a one-liner. I just break it into 2 lines to make it a little bit more cleaner. So I have URL at the top, and then I open the URL. So nothing fancy in here. Really nothing fancy in here, right? So what we can do next is we can just go ahead and actually say, okay, now that we have request, let's load that in as well. So let's just import that, bring that in. So import request. We're gonna take away the web browser. We don't need web browser anymore because we're not actually using the browser to do anything. You can. There's a lot of ways to achieve what Aurelia wants. So Aurelia was saying that, okay, is there a way? There's so many ways I can think of. Another way is to use Selenium, like Kelvin was mentioning earlier, was talking about Selenium. That's one way. I have a lot of projects of Selenium. I can show you that. I can maybe do that next week. But for now, we keep things simple. We don't need heavy gear until the situation requires it. So we're gonna keep things simple. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna just go ahead and say request.get. And what do you need to get? You get the URL. So when you say a request.get, what it would do is to go and request for this page. So remember, this is a web server, so there is always a request and there is always a response. So it's very conventional to say when you request for something, you are gonna get a response. So it's very conventional. It's not required, but it's very conventional. In the programming world, a lot of us would just call it response. So we said when you request something, whatever you get out of that, that's the response. We just name it into a variable called response. This variable, you could have named it X. Honestly, you could have done that, and it's fine. But I'm gonna stick to convention, and I'm gonna just call it response. It's very conventional. In the future, when you work with other people, you see code like that. You say request, you go and get a URL. So when you try and make a request to a server, what is the server going to do? The server is going to respond. And that respond is going to be called response. So it's very common to use request and response that way. So I just want to stick to what is very common. So I'm going to say response here. And what you can do is to actually just say something like print response, right? And if you go down and you run the code, oh, not actually please, but you run the code now, you're going to go ahead and see that your request is doing that and you get a response 200. So that's telling you that the response succeeded, because in 200 is the HTTP code for success. So if you look at HTTP code success, you're gonna see all of these different codes, and 200 means okay or success. Okay, so when you see a 200, it means that you are doing exactly what you need to be doing, which is and that the server is doing what it needs to be doing as well, which is to give you a success response. So we know that this is successful. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take away the print statement now, and we're gonna, since it's successful, we're gonna just go ahead and we say soup, and actually let me try and run this. Let me before I do that, let me just go and see if I save this. I can one thing you can do in Python is you can run it in iterative mode. So in iterative mode, you put a -i before you put the name of the file. The name of the file is script01.py. I'm gonna put a -i to say iterative. So when I run enter, so this is gonna run the code from top to bottom, but it's gonna put me in there. So now I can take a look at rest, and I can see rest dot status, I believe it's called. No, it's not. Rest dot let's see. It should be status code. Okay, status code. So rest.status code. Okay, that's 200. So we can actually go ahead and do something like this. We can say something like if rest.status code. So there's an attribute called status code. So when we have that, it's 200. We're gonna say print success, and we're gonna just print the rest text. Okay, we don't actually need to print success, but we can go ahead and do this. What we can also do is we can actually just create our put them in a format that we can easily work with. And there is a very cool library that allows us to do that, and it's called BeautifulSoup. So how you bring that in? You go ahead, you say from BS4 import BeautifulSoup, and then from BeautifulSoup, what you can do is you can just take this and wrap the response. So you wrap the response text, and you say use a HTML parser for this, because BeautifulSoup can work with a lot of different formats, but exactly right now what we're doing is we're reading from this, and this is a HTTP format, HTML format. So HTML format, we use the HTML parser. So that's what it's doing. So if I show you res.text, this is all of the code that you're gonna see. This is very long, by the way. If I say length of res.text, it's 36,000. This is actually what you're gonna see if you go to the website and you say right click and you say view page source. And from the top to the bottom, right, the source of the page that generate this nice, beautiful UI, the source of the page is what you're getting. So res.text contain that. Res.text contain that. So here you're saying that if it's success, continue to do the work here. If it's not successful, then don't do that, right? Unless you know that you're guaranteed to be successful, then you just have to just ignore that. But usually it's probably good practice to just keep it there. Okay, and then what you can do next is you can actually go ahead and say, oh well, there's a ton of things here. If I show you the source again, page view source, there's a ton of things here. So what exactly are we looking at? So this is kind of where things get interesting. If I show you the script, there's a lot. All of these scripts are basically JavaScript code. So you can see that because you see that the extension is .js, .js, .js. So you know it's actually JavaScript. So all of these are JavaScript. But if you continue to scroll down JavaScripts, you will find what is interesting is one of the JavaScript here, one of the script tags here contains the JSON format, and it gives you exactly what Aurelia is looking for, which is the nutrition tag. So all of this is perfect for what she needs because we can take all of this information and we can save them into a nice CSV. We can just pay basically each one of this will become the header, this will become the column, this will be the value, column, value, column, value, right? And you can imagine it being a nice format where it looks for each row would be each of the recipe, each column would be this one, and then each of this will be the value. So each row will be the name. You can do that. There's so many ways you can do this, and but here you get exactly what you need if you can find the exact script tag. So this is what we need. This is between line 892 to line 918, and if you look at the script tag that is including that, it's here. So how do we target this script tag? Because there's a lot of script tags. How many script tags are there? Let's find out. Script. How many of them? 18 of them. There are 18 scripts in here, 18 of them. Some of them are Google Analytics. You can see this is Google Analytics because you see that it links to googleanalytics.com and it has GA and GA.src and stuff like that. But we don't care about this, right? We don't care about this. We only care about that. So how do you find the exact script out of 18 different scripts on the website? The website has 18 scripts. You want only the right one, the exact one, the one that gives you exactly what Aurelia needs, which is here, right? So how do we do that? So in BeautifulSoup, when we do BeautifulSoup, it allows us to find a certain pattern or find a certain item. So here, I'm going to introduce you to that really quickly. I'm going to say script. I want to find the script. I'm going to say soap.find. So we don't have soap yet. We have to create that. So let's go ahead and say soap. We're going to say create a soap. Soap, basically take the response tags. This is soap. Take the soap now and then find. Okay, so let's go ahead and say soap equals to BeautifulSoup res.text. Gonna pass in HTML.parser. Done. Oops, not there yet. So let's go ahead and copy that, paste this in. Done. Okay, now once we have the soap, if you click on the soap, you get all of this stuff from the top to the bottom. And you know it's the bottom because if you look at the last 3 lines of the code, if I print the soap, right? This is soap, right? If I print the last 3 lines of the soap, I see closing script, closing body, closing HTML. If I go all the way here, I see exactly the same thing. Closing script, closing body, closing HTML. So I know this is exactly doing what I needed to do. Now, how do I find the right script? So first thing is to let's maybe write some simple regex to target that. Okay. So there are a few ways you can do this. But we can actually use something called the find. So we can say something like soap.find. And what do you want to find? You want to find the script. Because again, if we can get to this point, then this is kind of perfect. If we can get to this point, then we accomplish a lot of what Aurelia wants to do, which is to collect information from here. Now I know that we're only doing this for one page, but later on it's very easy to make it go through all the pages. So right now it's just looking at one page, it's fine. But if you look at energy, that's 791 and 189 kcal. If you look here, you get exactly the same information. This is calories 189. Where's the calorie? 189 here, right? So you get exactly the same information, but however, this is nicer to work with if we can find a way to extract that. And the way to do that now is to use something called a regex. Now regex is something that people either hate or love. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people cannot live without it, some people just do everything they can to avoid writing any kind of regex. And if this is the first time you're looking at regex, you'll probably hate it, but maybe like I said, I'm gonna record the video and you can rewatch the part, or you can learn some regex on your own time, but it's very useful. So I'm gonna try and write the regex out and gonna explain that, and then we can maybe move on from that. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and see how do we target this pattern. Now there are so many, all of this script has different patterns. I want to find the one that begins with this word, and I want to take everything that is after nutrition, quotation. Okay, so this is my pattern. I'm gonna write pattern, just gonna say pattern, and I'm gonna say re.compile. So what am I gonna compile? I'm gonna compile a simple pattern here, and then I'm gonna say this is multi-line, by the way. So let's do that really quickly. And multi-line is basically gonna say that if there are like breaking lines and stuff like that, they go to a new line, that's fine. Okay, just to be safe, I'm also gonna add re.all. I'm gonna explain that later, but for now, just saying that, just gonna target that. And then I want to target exactly this keyword. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna copy exactly this thing. So I'm gonna copy all of this, and I'm gonna say I want to find this pattern. So this is clear, right? I'm just copying stuff. It's really nothing fancy. I'm just copying this stuff. Okay, so and I want to target this word, but I don't really want nutrition. I want the one that follow after that. So I'm gonna put them in bracket like that, and then after that, and remember this stuff I don't actually type it out. I'm actually just copying and pasting stuff from here, and then I'm gonna say whatever happens after that. Take as many as you take any alphabets, any character. When you put a dot, it means anything. So anything here. So it could be an opening bracket, it could be a quotation mark, it could be A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. I say take anything as many times as you want. Take it all the way there and stop all the way when you find the closing bracket. So this is the opening square bracket. If you look at my screen, this is the opening square bracket. I say stop when you arrive at the closing bracket. So I'm gonna put a look ahead. So look ahead goes like that. It says look up, and what do you say? Look out for what? Look out for the closing bracket. That's it. So I know it's a bit complicated because this is the first time you're working in regex. This is like, oh Sam, this is so confusing. Maybe I don't like regex now, but that's fine. It takes a lot of practice. But the main idea is this, right? The main idea is that I say there are three. Notice there are two main brackets here. The first bracket is saying that find the information that contains the word nutrition with the quotation, and then exactly because there's a space here, I want to also have a space here, and then an opening square bracket, and then anything that follow the opening square bracket. This one says anything that open a following bracket. I want to capture that. And you capture all the way to what point? To the point when you see a closing square bracket. That's what your pattern is saying. So I mean, at some point you can I mean, if you want to find some time to practice, I think that's the best way. It's very hard to make sure that you get it the first time. So once you get the pattern, then I'm gonna copy all of this information. I'm gonna say import re. I'm gonna create my pattern, and then what we're gonna do with the pattern, we're gonna say find the pattern and do a find on that stuff. So we say find all the scripts within the SOAP and find for the pattern. So we're gonna say text equals to pattern. Pattern is what I create up here. So say enter, and let's see if we get anything. We're gonna call it script. Let's see if we get anything. Script. Do we get anything? . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 。 .
Yeah.
let's maybe run from the top to bottom. Let's copy this one. Let's just, this is the pattern, and this is the, if this is successful, what do? You do a soup.find, and you find what? Find for all the scripts where text equals to pattern. Did we create a pattern? Yes, we did. We created it right up there, and then we said we're gonna name this script. And let's go ahead and do a simple terminal here. Clear out the screen. Okay, and then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just say Python -i. Let's run that. Let's see what we get. Okay, let's see what we get from script. We don't get anything yet. And it's probably okay. It's probably okay because we can actually do something like pattern.search and search for the pattern again. We can say search for what? Search for the script string. We don't have the string, but if we do a string here like that, can we? Okay, we do have that. Okay, maybe we miss out somewhere in the compile. Let's see. And that's why you say that regex is not always the most user-friendly stuff, because look, even I just copied literally and I realized what the problem is here. The problem is I did not actually do a backslash, so this is actually not legal in a way, so I need to sort of close it out by doing a backslash, so sort of escape the character. Okay, let me do that again. Let me just copy this. I think that's kind of the problem. So let me do pattern, and then what I can do here is I can actually say soup.find. Okay, yep. Okay, that's perfect because we found exactly what we need. Yep, that's perfect now. So if we close out all of this and we do a Python again, run it. So you see, it's not always the most user-friendly. I need to pay attention to what I'm typing. When I'm trying to explain stuff while trying to do the code at the same time, I miss out the things like, backslash and stuff. Now, let's see if the script is working. Okay, it's perfect. It's perfect because now we actually see the script at this point contains this information, right? It still contains the rest of the information. It contains the whole script. So it contains this. Now script at this point will contain this information. So remember I said there are 18 scripts here. You see 18 scripts. We want to discard all the 17. We want to find the one script that contains this value. And did we find that? We did. We did find that value because now, if you look at the script itself, it doesn't return all the 18 anymore. It returns only that one thing, which is exactly what the script that we need. See that? So this is exactly the script. So here, let me comment that a little bit. Here, out of 18 scripts, I'm going to say out of many scripts, because maybe other web pages doesn't have 18, they have different numbers. We only need the script that contains the nutrition info. Nutrition information, like that. So up to this point, maybe you have questions, because we're actually quite almost done. Maybe 5 or 6 more lines of code and we're done. So we're actually quite close to the finishing line, but I just wanted to stop here. Is this idea clear so far? Oh yeah, it is from GitHub Copilot. Yeah, that's from GitHub Copilot. Yeah, pattern is not detected because we forgot to close this square bracket. So if you don't do that in regex, one way you can do that is to use the R, which is we call raw bytes, but probably it opens up a whole new kind of form. This is probably what we need to be doing. So up to this point, if you need to sort of follow along, I'm gonna paste all of that in the code. And I know that we're only doing one page, but it's very easy to loop through all the pages later. I'll show you how to do that. But right now, up to this point, maybe if there are questions, I can take the questions. Any questions? No questions so far? Did I lose anyone already? Or are you guys still following? I know the regex part is a bit crazy, but apart from that, does everything else make sense? Yeah. Later I'm gonna show you one method where you don't even have to use the regex. Okay, so if you really hated regex at this point, just stick with me for a bit. I'm gonna show you a method where you don't even use the regex. I'll show you many different ways to accomplish the same thing. I just want to give you the options and you have to make your own decisions which one is good. Okay, alright, so let me continue then. So once we have the soap, we found exactly the script tag that we need. So this is kind of the step 1. We already have that, but within that, within the script tag itself, it still contains a lot of things here. It contains the things like context, the type, the name, the image, the author. Do we even need the author? We probably don't need the author. So we have all this information: date published, description. But I mean, this is cool. I mean, we can also extract that if you want. But for now, let's stick to this one here. So how do we get that? How do we find exactly what we want here in the nutrition? So we have to do another search, another pattern match, right? So within here itself, once I have the script, I can go ahead and be very sure of things. I can say if the script is found. So in a way, if I do this, right, if I say script equals to this, if I show you script, it gives you that. But if script is empty, then it would not have things. So look at this crazy GitHub Copilot trying to finish up all of that, and actually he's correct. The funny thing is he's actually correct. All of this is exactly what I need to be doing, but it would be cheating if I use that, so I'm not gonna do that. But this is actually correct. The number 2 is to extract the nutrition information and then pass the nutrition information, and then 4th, this is actually correct. But if I were to just press tab and let it complete all of this, then we're not learning anything. We're just letting the AI do the stuff. So we're not gonna do that, okay? But that's the crazy thing, is that it's actually correct. Okay, it's still trying to complete my my stuff for me. So we're just gonna ignore that for a bit, okay? So what do I want to do now is I want to find exactly this one. So I'm saying that out of this entire script, I don't need all of this. I don't need all of the recipe instruction. I don't need the ingredient. I don't need the category. I don't need the total time, the cook time, the prep time. I don't need any of this. What I really need is the nutrition. So how do I actually get that? So how do I get that? Step number 2, let's just extract the nutrition information. But now we're just gonna use what GitHub Copilot suggests. So we're not gonna do that. Look at this GitHub Copilot trying to complete all of my sentences. We're gonna put us, bro, he's gonna put all of us out of job, man. I don't even know why we're learning data science at this rate. It's completing, the AI is doing all of this stuff already, so why are we learning programming at this rate? Okay, anyway. So how do we do that? Well, we can take the pattern that we got above, that we created above. So we still have the pattern, right? Yes, we do. Okay, so we can go ahead and say take the pattern and search for what? Search for the string of the script, and let's see how many matches do we get. Okay, we do have some matches. So because this works, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it in here. And if you look at this matching, if you look at this regex that we wrote, this first bracket is called the group 1. So if I put a group and put a group 1, I'm going to get exactly this part. You see that? I just need you to sort of pay attention to what I'm doing right here. If I put a dot group 1, I'm going to find a match and I'm going to take the first group, because again, what is a group? A group is basically just the parenthesis here. So when you use a parenthesis, you create a group here. So this is group number 1. What is group number 2 then? Well, group number 2 is right here. So group number 2 is right here. So group number 2 is saying that anything that follows this pattern. Now what do we want? Do we want group number 1 or group number 2? This is group number 1. This is anything that follow after this. Which one do you think we need? Group 1 or group 2? Let's see if anyone has an answer. Do you think we need group 1 or group 2? Group 2, right? Yeah, group 2. So what we're going to do is to say, instead of group 1, we're going to remove that group 2. Group 2 is exactly what we want, right? So we're going to go ahead and take all of this stuff, and we're going to say, okay, when you do all this search, this is all cool, but I want to take the group. I want to take group 2. So group 2 is going to remove this part, because this is group 1. It's going to only take the group 2. Okay? And by now, actually, you are almost done. But remember, there is all this R and N. What is R and what is N? This is the return, right? This is the return. So return, if you're using a Mac or Unix in the older times, today we have, in modern days PC, we call this an enter key. So every time somebody press an enter key, that's actually a return. And what about slash N? Anyone has a guess? Without looking at what GitHub Copilot is saying, but it's actually new line. So it's so pointless. I can't even teach you guys anymore because it just tries to complete all of this stuff. Anyway, so what do we need to do? We need to remove all of them, right? So there's a few ways to do that. You can say something like string, and you can say something like take that and you can say split strip, and you can say strip away /r/n. You can do that. There's a lot of ways to do that. Another way that I like is sort of maybe just extract everything out. So here, for example, I can maybe save them into a variable. I'm gonna call it, this is the raw string, so I'm gonna say nutri raw string, and from the raw string itself, I want to take the so this is okay, replace all the return, but this is okay, this is one of those times when he's wrong. I don't actually want to replace the the \r and \n into \n. Oh, I see what it's doing. It's trying to replace this one first and replace that one. Okay, but we're gonna do something different. What we're gonna do instead is we're gonna say nutri raw. Again, this is the name of the variable, and we're gonna say take a banks place, and we're gonna say join, and join what? We're gonna say join this one and split lines. Okay, so if we do that, let's go ahead and create nutri raw, and then we're gonna say take this. Okay, now we have removed all of this stuff, and blank space dot join. If we try and do a eval, okay, this is perfect. Okay, then now we create a dictionary. Step number 3, convert that into a dictionary, and this is really just that. You can to make it really explicit, you can just call it dic, nutri-dic. Nutri-dic basically says the nutrition information, but now it's in dictionary. So now by now you should expect something that looks really clean. It looks like that. It looks like that, which is exactly what you need of a JSON data. This is really clean because this is exactly what you need. It's a dictionary. So when you have a dictionary, what can you do with it? You can convert that to a CSV, and you can do all kind of things. All right. So I'm just gonna put a ... like that, right? So I don't want to print the whole thing out because it's gonna be too long. Okay. And just to make sure all of this works, let's go ahead and say print nutri-dic. Save it. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see the whole thing. All right, so this is kind of the code now, and let me just go ahead, clear up all of this stuff, and let me just say Python scrape 01.py, and if okay, perfect, we have exactly what we need. So I think by now most of you know what to do now, right? Most of you know what to do. Like taking this information and going to a CSV is actually really simple. You can do it in Python, you can do it in R. Let me see if you have any questions up to this point. Maybe anyone have any questions up to this point? Because the step number 4 is to create a CSV. Okay, so up to this point, do you have any questions? Up to step 3. Let me give you all the code so far. Right, so up to this point, you're doing a lot of crazy heavy lifting here because you are getting all of this information. You're getting all of this information and you're storing them in a very neat dictionary. We call this a nutri-dic. But the cool thing is we want to create a simple application that allows people to download CSV right away. Like if I can put in a URL, I should get a CSV. I don't even want to look at all this stuff. So how do we create our CSV? Now, turns out it's very simple. We don't initially I said you probably need to do an import CSV. Well, it turns out you don't even need that because I just thought of you don't even need that. You can actually just write straight up. You can use the CSV if you want to, depending on how familiar you are with things. So I can go ahead and say with open. So open a file and write the file. I'm not gonna write this like that. So this is one of those times it's wrong as well. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say this is nutri-dic. Nutri-dic is a dictionary. So if nutri-dic is a dictionary, it has keys. Nutri-dic. Did I spell it wrong? Okay, so maybe I need to do it from here because I didn't evaluate that. So let me go and run that, execute that. Okay, so that will give me my nutri-dic, and I'm gonna take my nutri-dic, and I'm gonna say look at the keys of nutri-dic. So these are all the keys, right? So I'm not gonna hard code stuff. If you look at what he's suggesting, it's actually very hard coding stuff. We don't like to do that. We don't like to ever hard code our stuff. We like to be cultured and nice and robust, right? Our code. So what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna try and create using the keys here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say for key in nutri-dic keys. So it's gonna look through all of the keys. So these are all the different keys: key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4. all the way. How many of the keys are there even? Let's find out. Put a length. Length stands for length, length. So how many keys are there? The 12 keys. So this would correspond to all this information, like 1 key, 2 key, 3 key, 4 key, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so for each one of them, what do we want? We want to take the CSV file. I don't like to call it F. I like to be more explicit and call it CSV file. So what about W? W stands for write. Write refers to write. R refers to read. If you want to open a CSV to read the file, then you put a R. If you want to open a CSV to write into that file, you put a W, right? So for key in NutriDix, what do? We said, okay, we take that and we say CSV file, which is what we name here. We say take that and write. Now write what? We write, first of all, we write the key, and then we're gonna write the NutriDix key. Okay. So what it's gonna do is that it's gonna look through each one of them. So first of all, it's gonna take the type and then it's gonna write the value of this, right? And then once we have that, we're gonna just open a new line after that. All right. So let's go ahead and see if all of this is working by quitting this out and running that again. Now let's open up this. Remember, I still up to this point I only have one file in here called script.py. Oh, bam, done. So Nutri.csv is open. Let's go and take a look at what Nutri.csv. Bam, this is exactly what we have. Very, very cool. Because now we can, how do I thought I have a, okay, here. We have a CSV file. Well, what would be cool is that if I want to give you an extra challenge, I said, okay, this is really nice because you get all the nutrition information from this website and you get all of this information layout in a nice CSV. But I would, if you want a good challenge, maybe one challenge is for you to say, oh, what if I don't want to name this nutri.csv? Because later on, I want to show you how to iterate through and quickly scrape all the recipe. So there are so many recipes. I want you to scrape through all of the recipe. So you don't want it to be nutri.csv all the time, because if it is, then it would just overwrite the stuff. So when you script this one, it would name nutri.csv, but then you script this one, it overwrites that. So you don't want that. It's not very smart, because if you were to scrap 60 different recipes on the website, you're gonna only get the last one because it's gonna keep overwriting the same file because you give them the same name. So ideally here, I want you to have a think of an extra challenge yourself. How do you rename this properly? How do you rename this? Right? How do you rename this so that this would actually be the name of the recipe that you're trying to scrape? How would you do this? So maybe anyone have any ideas? Anyone have any ideas? How would you rename this? Yes, because if I don't do this, right, now if I can go ahead and quickly show you how to iterate through all the recipe. But if I were to do this on all the recipes, because I only have one file and it keeps opening the file to write, it would keep overwriting this file. So by the time I'm done doing all of this from the top to the bottom to dada ayam paprika, I'm actually going to have nutri.csv only for dada ayam paprika. Why? Because it keeps overwriting the same stuff. So a smart way to do that is to maybe not have this hard-coded and be smart about how you want to get a name. So how would you get a name? This is an extra challenge. Maybe you can take some time to think about it, but I'm going to give you the solution right away as well. But before I do that, do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions before I do that? Okay, recipe name. But how do you find recipe name? This is good. This is a very good start. So let's actually use Kelvin's idea. Kelvin is saying that, well, what if we just maybe, instead of taking that out, what if we just remove all of that here like that? And we're going to just give it, I don't know what you call it, name or something, right? Name or something. I don't know, name or something. But how? What are we going to? Actually, we have to put this in curly bracket. But how do we find the name though? It's not defined yet. How do we do that? Anyone have any idea how to get the name? Yeah, soup.find is one way. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do that. If you ask Handoyo, he probably said, well, one way you can do is to go to soup again and then look at the first line and take that out. Maybe that's one way. If you want to practice your regex, this is a good time to practice regex. So let's go ahead and do the name pattern as well. Let's go ahead and look at the view source again. So right click, view page source. And let's look at what we need to find. If I go down to my script tag, script, okay, it's here. If you look at my script tag, not there yet, probably up here. Yep, this one. there is actually a proper name up here that you don't even need to try and guess or anything. Some of you will say, well, what if I just take this one? You can also do that, you know. Like you can say, what if I just take the one that I entered in here? So basically take all of this, take the URL, and you say URL.split, and you can say split by what? Split by slashes, and then take this one as the name. You can also do that. That's also fine, but probably not very neat because this is going to be a slug. So in a way, you can take this and you can say take the -2, and that will give you this one, and you say this is the name. You can go ahead and pass this in. You say name equals to URL.split, and once you split by this, you take the 2 like that, and that will give you the name, and this is probably good enough. It would work though, right? Let me make sure. Quit, run that again. Let's go and see if it creates a, and it does. It did create a CSV. Oh wait, did we forget a CSV? Yeah, we did forget a CSV, sorry. So let's go ahead and look at our name. We need to combine this name with F, put this, and we say .csv, like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and quit that again. Let's delete all of these files now. Just delete this one, move to trash. New 3.csv, we can delete that as well. Oops. Delete that, move to trash. Let's go ahead and run that again. Now again, I have no more files in here, no more CSV files. Okay, so I probably missed out something here. Right, this is wrong. I need to put a curly bracket here, save it. Sorry for that, troubleshooting while we go. Now it's, oh, but URL is not passed in here. Wait, is it? Yeah, see, look, hold on. Let's not panic here. URL.split, and take the second one, but it says what? Missing closing bracket. Where did we miss the closing bracket? Split. Oh, yep. Because we use both of this, yeah. So we need to keep it like that. Because here we have the single quotation, here we have the single quotation. Now this should work now. Because we have the single quotation on the outside, we want to have double quotation so it knows that this is in there, and bam, it's done. So if you open this and you open preview, you get exactly what you want, and you have this as a file name. But this is not very elegant because you're actually kind of using the slug, not really the actual name. So you can go ahead and challenge yourself. How would you write that? I'll give you the solution right away. So let's go ahead and actually do a name pattern right now. Very similar to the one above, so compile. Because this is not multi-line, we don't have to worry about multi-line, but we just have to worry about writing the name. So let's go and take a look at the source itself here. This is how it looks like. Soap, tauhu, rotel. So we want to match anything that follows after this pattern. So we're going to just copy all of this and do the same thing that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to put a bracket here. This is the first group. So I'm doing exactly the same thing that I showed you, right? Nothing new here. And then after that, whatever that happens after that, I want to account for cases where this is not even like a soap. This is what if they're like, some people have like one esteller or something, you know, and what if there is a number like 1? So if you want to be very safe, you can actually be very safe and put the numbers in there as well. If you don't think it would ever be the case, you don't have to worry about that. I can say capital A to capital Z, both cases up and down. If you want to include the cases numbers, I can put the numbers as well, or I can just maybe put anything with this underscore or space should also be acceptable. Why? Because there is a space in between, like soap space tauhu space water. So the space should also be included. So I will put a space in here like that. And I said you can have this as many as you want as well. So as many as you want is a plus, just like this one as well. As many as you want, you can put a plus. And then from there, you want to end where? Where do you want to end? You want to end at where? At before the comma. You want to end at the comma. So up here, we want to end at the closing bracket. Here, we're not trying to end at the closing bracket. What are we trying to end? We're trying to end at the quotation comma. So we're trying to end here. Okay. So this is kind of what we need. Again, you may hate regex. And I tell you, a lot of people hate regex because all of these are very complicated stuff. You need to like, it's like playing a puzzle. But for people who likes puzzle, I guess, you know, it's not that bad. If you want to like maybe put 0 to 9 to include those cases, you can do that. So it's kind of like solving a puzzle in a way, but let's not worry about that. We already have the name pattern, so let's go and create our name. How do we create our name? We can say this is script. We can maybe after our script, if the script is found, let's go ahead and put a 2b. Take the name out, extract the name, take out the name portion. Okay, so we're gonna take out the name portion of the string, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna say name, and what we're gonna say is name pattern.search, and we're gonna take the group. Are we gonna take group 1 or group 1 or group 2? Group 2. We want exactly this one because group 1 is not meaningful, right? So group 1 is not meaningful. We're gonna take group 2. So take the name out, and then what we're gonna do with that, we already have the name, so we can use the name all the way, and we don't need this name anymore, so we can comment that out. And this should still work. Everything should still work. Let me just make sure by deleting the file. So this file, remove anything.csv. This file, okay, no more CSV file. That's good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just run that code. Okay, we miss up the regex again. So see, this is why regex. I told you, we sometimes. What did we miss out here? We didn't name. Okay, we need to have the opening bracket. Why? Because I didn't copy. I need to copy this one, and I did not. I missed out the open quotation. So let me save that, run that, no problem. Run that and see if we can find a group now. It still haven't find anything. So let's see if I miss out anything. Let's go ahead. Look at the name. Open that up. This is the name. If you spot anything, you can let me know because I'm trying to code and do this at the same time. I realized what I did. I need to have all of this. Yeah. I need to have all of this in a square bracket to say any of this. So any of this as many times as you want, like that. Okay. Now it's probably gonna work now. And regex is kind of like that. Like even people who are very experienced with regex have to sort of go back and forth. Okay, now it's perfect because it works. Everything works. And if we put a list to list all of us, bam, we found exactly what we need. So how do we create a better name for that? We can create a better name for that by saying name.csv. So we're gonna have name.csv. Let's do that. Run that. Okay, let's open that up. Bam, that's the one. CSV, right? So that's perfect. That give you everything you need. And if you open it up and you say take this and you say open preview, and it opens that up, and you have all of this stuff in a nice CSV format with the right name now. And the name you got it not from trying to cheat using the slugs here, but from using this. So I'll show you two methods now. But now how do we go through all of this, the recipe, and look through all of them, right? So before I do that, I'm going to show you that really quickly. But before I do that, let me see if there are any questions you have. Anyone questions? Let me take the questions.
I'm sorry, can I have the updated code?
Yeah, sure. Let me do that.
Thank you.
Anyone have questions? Even if you're not following, can you maybe have questions? You can also ask me. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, Handoyo, this is cool. I think like having this kind of website helper is also helpful because you can very quickly get feedback without having to execute. If you're very familiar with the workflow that I'm doing here, then you probably get about the same speed. But if you're not familiar with doing that, use the method that Handoyo is suggesting, which is to use like a regex checker and check through all that stuff. Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. That's a really good suggestion. Even if you're not following, if you have any questions about web scraping and stuff, right? Even if you're not doing the coding itself, maybe you can ask me. Happy to take any questions. Does everything make logical sense? Do they follow some sort of logical order to you? Because the next thing we're gonna do is very fun. Next thing we're gonna do is gonna loop through like multiple of them. I don't know who owns Fat Secret. Maybe Aurelia, you know who owns Fat Secret? I don't even know. You don't know? Okay, anyway. But let's go ahead. Let's wait for a bit if there are any questions. Anyone have questions? Owen, you have any questions? Gerald, any questions?
All good.
All good? All right.
All good.
Some of this stuff you probably want to like practice a few more times. Then you get very used to it. Regex is hard. I can tell you that already. Like I told you, I've worked with programmers who have been doing programming for 10 years, and there are usually two responses. One is that I hated this stuff and I do everything I can to avoid that, and the other one is that I love Regex. Why won't people love Regex? So I rarely find people who are like, oh, I'm very neutral about Regex. I don't hate them, I don't love them. People either love them or hate them, and this is why it's because it's not the most human friendly syntax ever, right? okay, we're gonna do something really cool now. We're gonna go ahead and create, open up all the links here. Gonna open all the links here because I'm gonna show you like how to run all of this in a for loop. Close this one up. Just gonna take this. Now we're gonna expand this a little bit more. Instead of having one URL, we're gonna have URLs. See, now what we're gonna do? We're gonna have a URLs, and we're gonna have all of this. Now this is where the fun actually starts to happen. We're gonna have all of this. I don't want to do all of the page first. I mean, there's still a way we can just scrape the whole page like that, but I don't want to do that because be a bit more respectful to the website owner. I'm just gonna select like 3 or 4 pages. I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 4. 4 is fine. Usually when you do this kind of web scraping and stuff, you know, depending on your the website policy, usually they have something like a policy and stuff, like a sharat, and they usually tell you how you're allowed to do it or not allowed to do it, you know. And so you want to be a bit respectful. Like sometimes, let me search for like scraping. You can read on your own, but I'm just saying, I just need to point that out because you know, I don't own this website. It's not something, when I teach web scraping, I usually use ticket.com because the founder of ticket.com, Natalie, is a friend of mine. And when I teach this class, he was usually in the class, so I said, Natalie, you don't have your permission? He said yes. So I if you look at my older videos, you see me using ticket.com a lot because he's a friend of mine. He wouldn't go and sue me for doing that. But you want to be mindful because there are certain websites that have terms and conditions here and tell you how they don't like that. Like Facebook has a very strict policy of that, so you want to be a bit more mindful. So I don't necessarily want to go through like recipe, and I can teach you how to do that, like going from the first one all the way to the end of the page, but probably just keep it nice and simple, just 4 different links. Okay, so I'm going to take away the URL now because this is not meaningful to me anymore, so I'm going to take this out. You can very quickly delete this line by doing Ctrl L, select the line, and then put delete. So Ctrl L delete would remove that line. And then what we're gonna do is to basically say for URL in URLs, and then what do? We move everything in. Move everything in. Go all the way down to the bottom and move everything in. Done. Done. This is why Python is nice. This is it. If you're expecting me to have more steps because there are so much more things to do, you're going to be disappointed because that's it. That's it. It's done. If I remove all the CSV now, okay, there is no CSV file anymore in my directory. There's only one py file. And if I run my Python file now, Python script1py, and what do we have? Bam. All of that done. All of that in a single go. Look at that. Look at that. You see that? You see how much time you save from just writing a simple file that we write together? How much time has left? 30. We only spent about what? 1 hour in, and we didn't actually start exactly at 3:30 as well. But we took about 1 hour. We automate all of this work, and now we have all of this. We have soup tomat, we have tumis, broccoli, we have wortel, we have oat banana cookies. Look at that, right? It's so cool, right? It's something that takes so little work, so little effort, and clients pay a lot of money for this kind of stuff because they don't want to use human labor to do this anymore. They said, hey, we don't want to like manually scrape because look, there's how many pages out there? Like 20 pages, 30 pages, 40 pages. We don't want to actually do that. But we need a way to systemize it. How do we do that? So you're learning this skill. Look at that. Look at this. 8 pages. Each one of them have like what? 20 different listings. 24 different listings. 24 times 8. That's 192. 192 listings. And do you really want to get hire a person to go through each one of them? No. You want to write a script to do that. So this is what you're learning. So it's really, really nice. I would say like learning web scraping has a lot of benefits. It's just one of those tools that you should just have already. Even if you don't feel like you need them, just learn that already because it's so useful. Maybe anyone have questions right now?
Sam, do we need to copy all of the link for its recipes?
No.
Or can we use like the for loop or Regex, something like that?
Yeah, you can as well, because what you need to do is to just use BeautifulSoup, and you just have to look through all of this, the href here, right? Just look through that. So basically you have a list, and to fit the list, you just have to scrape through this page, and you have to scrape through each one of the href. This is the link itself. So that's it. So just do a for loop to look through all of the link, then you don't even have to manually specify. I'm just doing it this way because I know that this session is kind of recorded, and I don't want to like be too aggressive with what I'm doing here. But it's very easy to just run a for loop and look through all the A's here. Just get all the A's here. Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to try that on your own and you have questions, I can always help you. Yeah, you can find all the specific A tags. I guess if you guys is anyone in a rush? If you're not in a hurry, I can show you a fourth method where I don't even use regex. I don't know if any of you are in a hurry. If you're in a hurry, I mean, you can go. If not, I can show you how to do all this stuff without even using regex. Because there's so many ways to accomplish the same thing, I can show you another way to do that if you want to. But if anyone is kind of you know, if you need to head off, because I said it would be 1 hour, but now it's kind of about time out. But I can show you how you can. In fact, I can show you how you can just look through all of that. Do you guys wanna keep going for like one more? Well, just one more thing, just one more showing how to do this without regex. It's very similar code, see, just a bit of, you know, something's changed here. Yeah. This is supposed to skip you. Bro, I don't want you to get in trouble, man. Alright, let's do one more. Okay, let's do one more. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new file, touch. I'm gonna call it script02.py, and it's gonna be about the same, maybe very similar to script01. I'm gonna put them on the right. Okay, like that. And probably very similar stuff. So I'm gonna just do the same thing. I'm gonna say import request. I'm gonna say import PS4, but this time I'm gonna make it a point to not use regex and show you another way to accomplish the same thing, because this is probably very common. You see people doing these kind of things, but I'll show you why the weakness of that. This is actually less common. Like using the script tag, this is actually quite smart. And you don't see a lot of content on the internet that covers you know, both all these different kind of approaches. But I'm gonna show you this other approach. Okay, I'm gonna put in a URL now again, and I'm gonna pick randomly one of them. I don't know which one. I'm just gonna take one of them, just any random one, like that. Okay, so any random URL, and again we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna say request get. What do we get? We get a URL. Again, the same thing. We're gonna say soap. We're gonna say create a beautiful soap. From a beautiful soap, we're gonna create a soap, and from BS4 import beautiful soap. So be more explicit, so we don't even need to do this. And then we just have to say response.text and HTML parser. Okay, so very similar to what you have so far, except now things are going to change a little bit. So I'm going to clear the screen out. Okay, except now we don't get to use the JSON method. Let's say we don't have the script tag. How do we do it if we don't have the script tag? So let's close out all of this stuff. So one way to do this, and this is probably a lot more common and probably a lot easier as well if you don't want to deal with regex, is you can inspect the element of what you want to extract. So this website has a lot of things here. It has the picture. So like one example is you can go and extract all the pictures and put them in a folder. So you can say, can I create a simple scraper to scrape all my competitors' website and take all the images and put them in a folder? Well, that's a very simple thing to do. You already have the skills you need to you already learned that from me. Right now you can go and try that as your own practice. Another one is you can scrape all the comment. You can see what the people say about the comments, reviews and stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do, but for us, we're just gonna focus on the nutrition information here. And I want you to do this. I want you to just click on the URL. So again, this is the website. And then I want you to click on inspect, and using a selector, click on the selector and select exactly what you're trying to target. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna take the whole thing maybe. Okay, so this is what I'm selecting. So I want you to take that and do that first, because if you don't do that, later when you try and practice on your own, you probably get lost. So try and do that. Right click on your browser, doesn't matter what you're using, Chrome browser, Chrome, Safari, Firefox. I'm using Brave. It's up to you what you want to use. So when you do that first, once you've done that, select on this box and look at the class. What do you see in the class? You see nutrition facts space international. So that is the class that is given to this item, right? So what you want to do is to basically target that class. Okay, so if I show you what I mean by that, scrape02.py, save the file. When you put a -i, it says running in iterative mode. That's easy to sort of like education, like it's good to demonstrate what your code is doing to the students. So I like to put in -i and right, once I'm in here, I can put soup. This is what I find. And what do I want? I want to select this class. I want to select the div here, and I want to get all of those things that is belonging to this class, nutrition facts. So Mulia and Nayoko, if you've been in my CSS class, you know the whole front end class, you know that to target a class, you put a dot, right? So what you need to do is to just say something like dot soap, and you say something like dot select, and you select what? You select the dot. The dot what? Copy. Copy the nutrition facts. Just take that, copy, so I don't put any typo, and put that in there. Bam, done. So now you're selecting everything within this class. So soap select, and here you can put the CSS selector. What am I selecting? I'm selecting the information that has this class, nutrition facts. So I'm gonna take that, nutrition facts. If you try and run that in your console, in your terminal, you should get all of these classes that are belong to this, all the child of this class, of this parent. Up to this point, do you have any questions? No questions? Okay, so once you select this, you have all of this information, but again, not all of this information are useful. What we want is we want to think of it very systematically. So I want to basically extract the numerical numbers on the right, and then I extract the label on the left. So I'm going to do the numeric on the right and then the label on the right. So how do I find the numeric? Now I realize there is one thing. The numeric would always be on the right hand side of things. So they would always be on the right hand side of things. So if I look at one of the examples, I see that it's always going to be on the right, or the T right, right? The T right, the table right. So this is the class. So I can say if the parent has nutrition facts class and the child, you put a greater than symbol. If the child has a what? T right? So put a T. Remember, this is capital R, so I'm going to put T right. Actually, it shouldn't matter because this is CSS, but let's just be strict about our, be disciplined and be strict. So this is going to select any numbers that has where the parent is nutrition facts, which is here, and the child and his class itself is a T right. Okay, so let me try that and see if this works first before I commit to that code. I'm going to say greater than dot T rights, and it seems correct. It seems correct. So since it looks like it's correct, 791. Let's just make sure 791 correct. Yeah. You just have to eyeball them a little bit. If you eyeball it a little bit and you know that it's right, then it's good. Okay. So all you need to do is I'm gonna call it new me because they are numerical numbers. Okay. I'm gonna call it, or you can, if you want to be explicit, you can call it nutri new me. Up to you, whatever you want to name it. Okay. And then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna say new me, and because look, I have all these texts, but all of these texts are not important to me anymore. I only need the number itself, right? So what am I gonna do? New me, nutri new me is a list. Nutri new me is a list. So I can go and do a list comprehension right away by doing something like newme.text for n in nutri.newme underscore newme. This is the same as doing a for loop, right? So I'm gonna say this is exactly what I want. So I'm gonna say this is newme, exactly what I want. This is the same as saying something like for n in nutri.newme, and then you say something like print and text. This is exactly the same, but we're gonna do something more cultured. We're gonna use list comprehension, save ourselves some typing, faster, more efficient, make you a better programmer. Okay. Now we're gonna do the exact opposite now because we're gonna do it for the labels. So again, we're gonna do it for labels. So I'm gonna copy all of this soap.select here, and this time, now all the labels are on the left, so they have the left class here. If you pay attention to your browser, it says there's a left class here, right? So we're gonna just take that. Say left. Okay, that looks correct. Let me make sure it's correct by looking at the first one. It's energy, and that's energy. So perfect. It's perfect, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go ahead and say label labels n.text for n in left. like that. Okay, so really simple. This is exactly the same as that. Instead, now I combine both of them into one line of code. You can also do that if you want to. You can actually just take the whole thing and just put them in here like that. You can if you want to. Again, it's all about efficiency and also trying to make sure that things are still readable for you yourself. How do we know this is actually correct? How do we know that? Let's do a simple sanity check. If the length of labels is the same as new me is not created, so let's go ahead and create new me. Length of new me, perfect, 14 to 14, right? So let's do a quick sanity check here to say if the length of new me is the same of length of labels, right? Then what do we want to do? We just have to create our CSV or whatever. You can not here. This is your own homework because I think I'm really running out of time. So create your own CSV here. But I'm just gonna do it simple. I'm just gonna print out for you. So I'm gonna say for I in range of what of length of new me. So how many of them are there? And what do I want to do here? I want to say just print labels eyes and maybe put a like that. Let me save all of this. No regex needed. Quit everything out. Run the code now. Okay, done. This is exactly what you want. But it's your job now to go and put them into CSV. This is your homework. This is it shouldn't be difficult. This is maybe 2 or 3 lines of code. You already learned how to do that. I want you to maybe try that on your own. But this is it. This is it. So how many lines of code is that? 16 lines of code. And because I spaced them out all of this, if I really don't space them out, it's really less than that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines of code. 8 lines of code, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, not this one, the whole thing. Right? 8 lines of code and you have the whole web scraper ready. And then what you want to do with it, you want to create a CSV, Excel file, that's up to you. But it's only 8 lines of code. So I think, you know, I don't want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know that I said it's going to be 1 hour. I think I'm above that. I won't show you how to do that. But so, I mean, you already learned that already on the first, you know, first example. So what I'm going to do now is to sort of quit this out. I'm going to push everything to GitHub and you can go and copy that. But do you have any questions so far up to this point? Yo, bro. Yeah, have fun in the US, man. Anyone else who is not catching a flight to the US, who is not trying to board, who is not on a plane now? Anyone else? You have questions so far? Like, does the or maybe Aurelia, do you have a question so far? Like, did this satisfy your questions?
Yes, it's satisfying. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Web scraping. Okay, this is good. Web scraping practice exercise. Right then. No one else have questions then? Let's see. Remove all the CSV file. Git status. Okay, git add. Git commit. Add Python files. Git branch main. Git remote add origin. Git push. Done. Okay, so this is the URL. You can go and collect that. And you can go and refer to the code, working it through line by line. Refresh the page. Bam, it's already here. Okay, if there are questions, you can always ask me. You know where to reach me. Hunter, do you have anything you want to add? Like any tips, any ideas, any suggestions, any recommendations, any, I don't know, like learning resources, anything you can think of that you think may be useful to mention? Or anyone else for the matter? No one? No questions? Okay, then I hope that I hope you learn something new. I hope you pick up something. This is really I think it's a very I would say using BeautifulSoup is probably among, I was just telling this to Gerald, I said it's probably among my top 20 packages that I use. Like among the top 20 packages that I use on a let's say on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, BeautifulSoup is one of the top 20 because I happen to do a lot of this kind of work, and I'm not even really in this field. You know, I'm supposed to do more data science stuff, but this is so helpful that it just happened to come across in a lot of situations. Somebody would say, hey, I need to get this, can you help me with this? And a lot of times the answer is something like, okay, let me just set up a web automation for you and stuff and promise stuff. And we also, I think some of you would know that some of our early clients, like Tree Creators, for example, the e-commerce project, we did something very similar, and you probably see me do that as well. And you know that we can, like, clients will pay money for this kind of stuff, right? So I want you to maybe find time to practice. Yeah, I mean, the code, I know the code is a little bit much. Maybe try and like read it on your own and see if, like, on a line to line, does it make sense? Because on a line to line basis, it's supposed to be very simple. Creating a URL, there's nothing fancy here. Getting the URL, creating a SOAP, and then from there, I explain how this comes about. And then finally you just print it out. This, nothing fancy here. So, yeah. If anything else, if anyone else needs help, let me know. Okay. I hope you have a good Thursday evening. Look forward to doing our next session. All right. Bye.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sam.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Sam.
Yeah. Bye.